Good job. I just noticed Don Wells, the city council, is here. Don, welcome. The next speaker is Deborah Bayer, and she's going to speak on the right to life. And after that, we'll have Senator Ryberg talk just before our break, and then we'll take a break at 10 o'clock. Thank you.
Good morning. Back in 1972, I was a college student in Michigan, and I was taking a government class, and one of the propositions up for the election was called Proposition B, to allow abortion for any reason up to 20 weeks. Even though I was newly married, I hadn't really thought about abortion. I was raised in a Catholic home, but nobody ever mentioned it. So I thought, well, I'll volunteer for that one, and I'll see if 20 weeks is reasonable. I can remember sitting in a beautiful, sunny library, and back then they had the little index cards you went in to get publications, and I pulled out 6 at random, got the publications, and sat down and started to read. And the very first one I read was New York State, and it was the New York Times Magazine, and it was an article on abortion. And the first sentence was, abortion is legal for any reason up to 6 months in New York State. And I felt as if I'd been hit with a hammer, because I was born a little bit over 7 months. And I was human at 7 months. What does 30 days mean? If I was human at 7 months, a baby is human at 6 months, and they're killing people. And that's just how clear it was to me. As I was walking out of the library, I met somebody with a big stack of the gory life or death brochures that was fighting Proposition B. Took some of them, went home, and spoke with my husband Ken, and we bought 10 boxes of 1,000 each and went out and put them everywhere. In 1972, in the election in Michigan, they turned down Proposition B by 73% of the people. That was in the fall of, 1972. So that was the November election. And only about 2 months later, in January 1973, the Supreme Court said, we know better than all the people in the nation. We think abortion should be legal all through 9 months. And they made a social decision, not a medical decision. In Roe versus Wade and Doe versus Bolton, they said that it didn't matter what the medical facts were. They admitted they didn't look at the medical facts. They only viewed it as a social issue, that women should be able to end a pregnancy at any time according to certain factors. Now, you've heard them say abortion is legal for 3 months, and that's a lie. It is legal through pregnancy. Remember partial birth abortion? We had to get a law against that because it was legal to abort a baby up to the moment of birth. The only real requirements were the woman asked for the abortion and she could find a doctor willing to do it. So over all the years, I have been involved in the Right to Life movement, and the Declaration of Independence says we hold these truths to be self-evident, that there are certain unalienable rights, and among these is life. Without the right to life, none of the other factors even matter. If someone is not born, they do not have the right to freedom or liberty or any of the things we take for granted. I view abortion as discrimination based on age and place of residence. We now see the development of the baby inside the womb. We know that the heart starts beating very early, that there's brain waves very early, that the child learns inside the womb. We cannot deny that this is a human life anymore. So that's what I've been involved in for all this time. And my final statement would be that there are some people in the Tea Party movement that have said the moral issues and the social issues need to be put on the back burner. And I believe that they are of equal importance. If we do not have a moral society, we will not have a republic. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Greg Ryberg.
Thank you, Jerry. Jerry, I want to commend you on the prayer. I thought it was very thoughtful and well done. Andrew Sider reminded me of my preteen years when I went to my first game, and that rendition was absolutely spectacular. If that doesn't move you, nothing will. My name is Greg Ryberg. My background is in business. I've been in business all my life. And what I do in government basically is exactly what you espouse here and look at behind you. I believe in fiscal responsibility, limited government, rule of law, and free markets. I came here to listen, and I work for you. My number's in the phone book. All you have to do is look under Greg Ryberg. My number is there. If you don't get me, you'll get a recording, and in the recording you'll get my cell number. So you can call my cell number, and I will return your call. I'm energized by what you all say because I do work for you. When I go to the doctor's office, and as we get up in age, we go more and more to the doctor's office, you got to fill out these forms. And they say employer, and I say the voter. I work for the voters, and I appreciate y'all's input. Let's talk about 2012. I think you all realize is an absolutely critical year. Your involvement will make a difference. I appreciate your involvement. Don't get discouraged. Don't give up. Stay the course. Let me talk about these four issues as it relates to some of the things that we deal with in state government. Fiscal responsibility. This past year, we tackled the Unemployment Security Commission issues relative to the $1 billion we had borrowed from the federal government. We now are back on the sound fiscal trail to handle that issue, and I'm proud to have been a part of that solution. Another fiscal issue, you hear about it every single day, and that's the state retirement system. I've been appointed to be on the panel to look at the state retirement system, and I believe that if we fix it in the next year, that we will have a sound system going forward. If we don't, we're going to have problems, even in the year 2017, 2018, making the payments to the retirees of South Carolina. And we have a responsibility, we have a moral ethics to make sure that that money is there for them. Limited government. I think we ought to just take one law off the books for every law we pass. I think we got too many laws now. And I'll continue to fight as long as I have breath to limit the government that South Carolina imposes upon the citizens of South Carolina. Rule of law. I think this week we saw the rule of law thrown out the window in the Florida case. I've asked my staff to prepare a bill that would create a felony offense if somebody doesn't report their child missing within 24 hours. I think that the court's rule or the jury's rule that there was a not guilty plea, not guilty relative to those issues in Florida, doesn't mean the individual wasn't guilty. And I think it's a travesty of justice what we saw and witnessed over the last 6 or 7 weeks. And I assure you, we will make sure we put penalties in place so something like that doesn't happen again, and especially doesn't happen to our citizens here in the state of South Carolina. Free markets. I'm a big believer in the free market system. I don't believe it's government's responsibility to pick winners and losers. And often, many of the bills that they try to pass through the General Assembly is to pick one industry or one company versus another. I think everybody ought to pay. If we're going to have sales tax imposed on the citizens of South Carolina, then everybody ought to pay. Because if everybody doesn't pay, the rest of us pick up the difference in some other form of tax. And so I think the Amazon deal, although it's an employment vehicle for South Carolina, I think it picks winners and losers, and the losers are our small businesses on Main Street in the state of South Carolina, and I voted against it. I'm going to end it so you can have a break, but I truly appreciate your involvement in your government. Keyword, it is your government. I work for you, and I'm energized by the turnout today. I'm energized by involvement. I'm energized by your phone calls. Keep going. 2012, we win in 2012, and this country is back on sound footing going forward. God bless you. God bless America.
We take a break, folks, for about 10 minutes, and we'll take a look at our favorite pets. And we got water down there, and we got some music by Don will entertain us for a few minutes.